It is 4 minutes after midnight Central Standard Time on October 28th, 2023. This is a date and a time that we will never be able to forget as long as we have minds to remember, eyes to see, ears to hear, and mouths to speak. As I speak to you, millions of people are being murdered simply because of where they were born and who they are, as punishment for saying that they will not go gently into that good night. We are watching a genocide unfold before our very eyes, and so many people feel powerless. So many people are asking, what can we do about this? How can we stop this? And how can we? We can continue to talk about it. We can continue to struggle. And we can continue to ensure that the people who are going through this thing continue to have their voices elevated. Israel has shut off all internet access. Israel has shut off cell phones. Israel is not allowing the people that they are murdering to speak. So they continue to speak because, as I keep saying, the power of the people is greater than the man's technology. The power of the people is greater than any tank, any cruise missile, any billions of dollars of American fascist aid. Palestine will live. People keep talking about Palestine as if it's a foregone conclusion. No. As long as a single Palestinian remains, there remains resistance. Israel will fall. Israel will fall in our lifetime, and we are watching it. So this is the current situation in Gaza right now. These are all innocent civilians. These are all innocent civilians that are being murdered for absolutely no reason. Hundreds of millions of Americans will get up tomorrow and go to work as if nothing has fucking happened. Because that's what Americans do. They elect idiot after idiot after idiot to Congress, to the Senate, to the White House. And then when these idiots do idiot things, they, oh wow, well, how could they do that? And then they go right back to being apathetic because it doesn't touch them. So it's our job to touch them, to make this shit real to them. These screams, courtesy of your tax dollars and mine, must never leave the ears of the American body politic. We are paying for this. We will pay for this in this life, or if it exists, the next. Just as the people who are committing these atrocious acts are going to pay for them. They will pay for it. Flesh, mind, body, and soul. That is white phosphorus. Every time I bring white phosphorus up, I'm not going to show gory images on your screen. But look up what white phosphorus does to human flesh. These are civilians. This shit is illegal to use on soldiers. And it's being used on civilians. Those are residential neighborhoods. Those are residential apartment blocks. There's no military infrastructure here. This is a callous, cold, purposeful genocide. You don't use phosphorus to blow out tunnels. You use phosphorus to burn people alive. This is hell. This is hell. This is U.S. funded hell.
Following breaking news, 2 U.S. officials say
So we've got a ground expansion that bourgeois news source CBS is saying appears to be the start of an invasion. Like, how can you sit here? How can you sit here with that purple smock on and talk as if you're not funding this? And talk as if this is just, talk as if you're reporting the weather. American apathy.
Israeli military's ground expansion into Gaza appears to be a rolling start to its invasion. A spokesperson for the IDF says aerial attacks.
I've also seen reports of American Delta Force wearing Israeli occupation force uniforms. Whether or not this is true is beyond me. But knowing America, knowing how sneaky and dirty America is, I wouldn't be surprised. There's not a single war that America doesn't have to get in on the ground floor of.
Targeting Hamas tunnels and other militant-controlled locations.
These are lies. I can't watch these lies. I'm surprised there's anything left to fucking bomb.
So please, guys.
Kurum brought up the aircraft carriers. We have a couple of aircraft carriers that are basically docked off the Palestinian coast, and as Kurum said, that's a major part of what's keeping Hezbollah off Israel's back.
If you can hear us, send that message to the world.
If it wasn't for those aircraft carriers, like, they'd be fighting a war on 2 fronts.
That we are.
I mean, they're already getting their shit pushed in. You see, the journalists, like, Israel has been murdering the entire families of journalists. Like, this is some fucking mob shit. Okay? We have to keep talking about this stuff because Americans cannot think past the next basketball or the next football game.
Isolated now in Gaza.
So we have to keep this in front of them. This is relevant to the meat and potatoes of this discussion tonight. Some people say I shouldn't talk about Hinkle. It's unprincipled, but no. What's unprincipled would be allowing a white grifter, a white fascist, a white scam artist to try to make money and gain followers, most of which are probably bots, off the people of Palestine's suffering. You feel me? Because we must be principled at all times. We cannot be opportunists. Oh, he's saying good stuff about Palestine, and whether or not this is good stuff is a matter for debate. Like, it's kind of gross just seeing a white dude sharing pictures of burn up kids on his Twitter and then be like, send me $3 so I can continue to talk about this stuff. I talk about this stuff all the time for free. Anyways.
Gaza. Again, guys, if you can hear us.
I'm not debating anyone. That being said, I'm not afraid to debate anyone, but no, this is not a debate. This is more of a picking apart of an especially atrocious individual.
We are isolated in the territory. We don't have any phone signals. We don't have any internet connections. We found a great difficulty even to communicate and contact with our relatives in different parts of the territory. Even we don't know what is the situation on the ground in different areas of the strip. We just only hear bombardment. We don't have any kind of access of communication.
Also, Gaza is one of the most densely populated areas of the world. So each one of those bombs, it has the chance to martyr, to kill at least 200 people.
Everyone now is really terrified and afraid.
Even the local radio stations are intercepted by the Israeli spokesperson, the Israeli Arab spokesperson who keep killing or keep sending warnings to the people. The Israeli airstrikes continue in the south and in the north of Gaza, but now we can even hear it from the central area where I'm staying now. Heavy and intensive airstrikes hitting the north and east of Gaza City and of the Gaza Strip as well.
The Israeli military says residents of Gaza City should move south. Keep in mind that first of all, there's nowhere to move to. And then, second of all, they are in the habit of bombing convoys of people who are trying to leave. So the Spectator Index, pro-Iran militias in Iraq are responsible for latest attack on U.S. troops in Syria. Why are American troops still in Syria? Israeli military officials are saying the current ground incursion is much bigger and more significant than the raids of recent days. Amnesty International claims the lack of communication in Gaza means that it will be even more difficult to obtain critical information and evidence about human rights violations and war crimes. That's why they did it. Hamas official claims Israeli enemy troops were ambushed, which caused heavy losses in soldiers and equipment. The IDF is conducting artillery strikes on targets in eastern Gaza. So that's the current situation. They're going to just chuck bombs and shells until they get tired. Then they're going to send their troops in to get massacred. But thankfully, the Palestinian people have the People's Army.
لا ما تسيب البارود والدم الحر يجود سندك عجنادك مشدود تسلم يا حامل حامية تسلم يا حامل حامية تسلم يا حامل حامية.
This type of music and these types of images can only come from a people determined to live.
أيو الرجال والطلة الفدائية فدائية كتايب المقاومة الوطنية وطنية عندها عال ندها شايل بيدي رشاش عالجبهة عال الجبهة نحصد روس الأوباش تلقانا سود سود أمر القاسم موجود من رحمة ثورة مولود على أرض الكنعانية.
The drip is eternal, unlike Israel. So they're also fucking around in the West Bank where Hamas is not. Here they are using what looks like an excavator to bulldoze a house. Fucky. But no matter what tools they bring out, we must always remember that the Palestinian people are immortal and they will remain long after both Israel and the United States have vanished and crumbled into dust. These are Turkish rebels who are attacking Israeli and American-owned companies. It is always right to rebel against reactionaries. So this is this morning. Well, it's morning over there now. This was posted 53 minutes ago, but yeah, they're fighting. Odds on Syria joining the war. They're still bruised up from the civil war. It depends. The Palestinian comrades have not called for any foreign state military assistance, and people are already predicting World War III, so We shall see. I mean, they did vote yes on a very good on a UN resolution um, to allow. Hold on, I got it. Let me pull it up. Let me see. I called somebody bastard earlier. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? See, that's the problem with tweeting too much. You lose important things. I know there's a bookmark function, but voting on Arab-backed UN General Assembly resolution over Gaza, protection of civilians, and upholding legal and humanitarian obligations. So China voted yes. Of special importance are the countries that voted against. You have Austria, the birthplace of a guy with the toothbrush mustache. You've got Croatia, you've got Czechia, you've got Fiji, Guatemala, Hungary, Israel, of course, the Marshall Islands, the Micronesian Federation, Nauru, Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, Tonga, and the United States, and a bunch of abstentions. And a comrade from Hawaii was explaining that all of those little small, poor Pacific Island states, like their sole purpose in the UN is backing up the US. Like they're so easily bought, it's ridiculous. And yeah, part of Papua is occupied by the Indonesians. Serbia abstained. Bad Serbia. So, main gist of tonight. I asked a couple days ago, should I do a video about Jackson Hinkle this week and how he and others like him are using Palestinian solidarity as a vehicle to push fascism. It got just under 1,900 votes. 63.3% said yes. 33.7% said no. Let's just scroll through the comments, which are definitely saying, yes, people need to address this ASAP. Like most people are very supportive. Like people are like, okay, who the fuck is this guy and why is he all over the fucking place? Hinkle is such an opportunist worm. And the thing with these like Hazel, infracell, whatever the fuck you want to call them people is they are terminally online. Like they have nothing better to do than to go into people's comments. I mean, yeah, I kind of brought it on myself by talking about the dude and making public tweets about it and leaving comments open. So I've got a thick skin. I'm black in America. I can take it. I can hack it. So just like my main goal is to try to like get into the minds of these people, like try to figure out like what is fueling these people, like why are they how they are. I guess you could call me an amateur psychiatrist. So is the fascism in the room with this right now? He takes umbrage to me calling Hinkle a fascist. Maybe try to be less of a hating ass N-word instead. I can already tell these people are quite racist. What kind of DSA cope is this? Yeah, you guys are failures. Try something else. Who is Minch? They also like really love gorillas for some reason. They have this whole like weird possible ban evader monitoring. Let's ban him. Anyways, so he has this thing up here. Mega communism. So make America great again communism. That's what it stands for. And it's hashtag. So I guess they want to create a sort of Trump style online movement that synthesizes and combines Trumpism with whatever the fuck they think communism is. So let's just go through this a little bit. Okay. MAGA communism is for reindustrialization of America, dismantle big tech, end foreign intervention, end globalist imperial. Woo! See, like, yes, the bourgeoisie, the ruling class, is global. Okay, these people have houses all over the place. These people dump capital all over the world. But globalist is a term that was popularized by the fascist Alex Jones. So you identify as a communist of some sort. Granted, your communism is pretty washed out by your MAGAism. Like you already see the fella Minch over here. Let me expand this a bit. So you see him over here under a video of Trump, and he says MAGA with an American flag. So let's see what else we've got. What other tomfoolery awaits us? Abolish the CIA, FBI, and NSA. Drain the Department of Justice swamp. Pardon the January 6th protesters. Pardon Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. Extend free speech to social media. Land reform and dismantle big agriculture. Unite with China on the Belt and Road Initiative. Ban Antifa street terrorism. Ban Antifa street terrorism. This is going to come into play later. Expand stable, high-yielding energy, such as oil and nuclear. I have no problem with nuclear energy, by the way. Like, I'm not afraid of nuclear energy, but like, why would you? So you're basically a low-key or high-key, depending on who you're talking to, climate denialist. Leave NATO. Mass infrastructure program. Declare major energy resources as public commodities. Banking in the hands of the people. Economic Bill of Rights. Cut the military budget. Protect the Second Amendment. Cut foreign aid and democracy promotion. No open borders. Dismantle MIC. Promote Made in America products. Nationalize big tech. Okay, so do you want to dismantle it or do you want to nationalize it? Like you're living in a contradiction. A literacy movement. From what I've seen of these people, they already don't know how to read. Patriotic education. End woke academia. Okay, so Hinkle identifies as a MAGA communist. So he promotes patriotic education. So he denies that America has a settler colonial character, right? So why does he support Palestine and why is he so vehemently opposed to Israel? Keep in mind that he rarely shares anything about the Palestinian resistance. It's always campus shit. So you deny the settler colonial character of your own country, yet you attack another settler colony that just so happens to have a Star of David on its flag. That sounds kind of like, sounds pretty anti-Semitic. Patriotic education, LOL. In other words, whitewash an already whitewashed education system. Pretty much. End subsidization of monopolies. Remove red tape. Subsidize gyms in every community. Lower taxes. Deport the Bush family, the Clinton family, Obama, Pompeo, and Bolton to the International Criminal Court. Who do they think controls the International Criminal Court? Destroy the Open Society Foundation, WEF, IMF, World Bank, Gates, Ford, and Clinton foundations. Dismantle Big Pharma. Destroy the duopoly/DC Uniparty. End debt slavery. Imprison opioid/fentanyl networks. Protect minors from sexualization. Dismantle secret societies. CENTCOM, AFRICOM. Declare NED, USAID, and NAFO. You're afraid of NAFO? They're just a bunch of weirdos on Twitter. Terrorist organizations. Arrest George Soros. Oh my God. ban Antifa street terrorism, arrest George Soros, also arrest Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, Fauci. Why do you want to arrest Fauci? And all Epstein associates / criminals. So this is basically LaRouche shit. I did a video on them a couple weeks ago. Protecting minors from sexualization won't sit well in practice with winning MAGA types. Yeah, they're great head. Kind of like some young. So, yeah, this is fashy shit. Matter of fact, we've got the original platform. Let's see what the original NSDAP, aka Mustache Man platform, has to say. We demand land and territories / colonies to feed our people and settle our surplus population. Only members of the nation may be citizens of the state. Only those of German blood, whatever they creed, may be members of the nation. So let's go back to Mensch, who is definitely not one. No open borders. Nazis. The abolition of incomes unearned by work. So we already see how fascists use like left-sounding language to win over the less politically developed of the proletariat, right? We demand the extensive development of insurance for old age. We demand the creation and maintenance of a healthy middle class, the immediate communalizing of big department stores and their lease at a cheap rate to small traders, and the utmost consideration shall be shown to all small traders in the placing of state and municipal orders. We demand a land reform suitable to our national requirements, the passing of a law for the expropriation of land for communal purposes without compensation, the abolition of rent, and the prohibition of all speculation in land. So, let's go back to Mensch. Let's see what they have to say. Land reform, dismantle big agriculture. So, I used the NSDAP platform to basically sort of contrapose, like, and demonstrate how these people, these MAGA communists, these Hinkle types, use left-sounding language to promote what is basically bullshit that is harmful to workers. And never mind oppressed minorities. Like, we're going to get to that later. So, like I said, these people, they're terminally online, and they're like hanging out in comment sections of people who are opposed to their talking heads, like Hinkle. So, let's view quotes. Fascist opportunism is when you become the loudest voice on the internet calling for the end of Zionist genocide. This is why nobody outside their tiny internet clique takes them seriously. They can't help but be losers online and in real life. So, very, very crude and hostile sorts of people. Black Red Guard is waging a protracted struggle against his neighbor's kids' swing sets. Oh, wow. That's the first swing set joke I've ever heard. The ground invasion has begun. Instead of focusing on the gravity of Zionist genocide as it unfolds, I will also expend my time and energy smearing and lying about the single biggest voice exposing Zionist genocide online. One thing about me is I don't lie. Like, I will literally bring your own words into play. I don't have to lie. Also, I'm afraid of getting called out and ratioed for my shitty takes, so I locked my replies. I'm very smart. I rarely get ratioed, actually. Y'all gotta be some of the biggest fucking losers on the planet. Gaza being turned into the world's largest mass grave, and this is what you are doing. World War III is a very real possibility. Big Satan has attacked Syria, and Little Satan has just declared the beginning of the ground operation in Gaza. Why are you talking like an Iranian mullah? The Judgment Day is announced. Why are you using this biblical, odd language? The funny thing about these people, like, all of them identify as, like, Catholics or Eastern Orthodox. Like, it's to the point where I'm skeptical of any Westerner who identifies as Eastern Orthodox, because they usually end up being fascists. Yet these beta swing set anarchists, do I look like a fucking beta to you? Betas don't have chins like this. Attempt to wreck the #1 anti-Zionist figure on the internet today. So, self-promotion. Like, it's all about self-promotion. Like, #1, most viral. That shows that, first of all, you need to work on your humility. And then, second of all, like, it's all about you. Oh, let's see more about this person. Like, if you see somebody like with the background like this, that's an infocell. I don't know why they like that weird hazy rainbow type thing, but yeah, that's them. The communist significance of Halloween. Haas. I'm going to have to do a whole ass separate video about him.
Go into the extent of your fears and go into the darkness. What you discover really surprises you.
This is the communist significance of Halloween.
You discover that this ghost that's haunting you is trying to send you a message, and it turns out the ghost is like a little girl who was raped and murdered and buried in the backyard. And the old man or the old woman is an actual evil fucking demonic Satanist. And the ghost was just trying to warn you. The ghost was just trying to tell you what happened so they can rest and get justice. And then at the end of the film, the ghost can finally rest and be at peace. So like everything is the opposite of what it seems, right? And that is exactly the specter of communism. It's a
First of all, who taught these people how to speak? Like, what is this?
scary ghost.
These people always talk about how they appeal to the average American. Like, average Americans don't sit and watch shit like this.
America, but it's a ghost, just like in Marx's time. A specter is haunting Europe. Well, what was the specter that was haunting Europe? It was the souls of all of those peasants and all of those people whose livelihoods were killed, and they were herded into these factories, deprived utterly of everything, and basically turned into beasts of burden. And that was what the
No mention about the African slaves who provided the initial capital for all of this.
specter
Very Eurocentric.
was. It was the ghost of civilization, of the common humanity that was killed by the arrival of capitalism.
And Ruhe actually tried to call me out once a few years ago, like when he was still relevant. I did not respond.
And that's all
If it was today, I probably would.
the specter of communism was. Well, Americans fear
That was the goofiest fucking shit I've seen. Ever. You can tell the only reason he is doing this is because he thinks it would be cool if he could turn into a werewolf. And he's right, it would be. I mean, he already kind of looks like one. So, yeah. The undefeated tanky warlord. So, here he is giving his buddy Hinkle a very good dick swirl. He says, when I first came across Jackson Hinkle in spring 2021, I instantly knew he was going to become a major figure in U.S. politics. Back then, no one deigned to accuse him of working for Russia or Iran or having any deeper ties with any ulterior motive whatsoever. He modestly, like myself at the time, averaged 150 to 300 followers on his live streams and wasn't well known. But I got to see how, just months earlier, he personally went to Washington, D.C. and got arrested for protesting the progressive squad, like AOC. Okay, why would you go and protest the progressive people in Congress? That's something a Gonzalowite would do. Like, that's what these people basically are, right-wing Gonzalowites, for their refusal to force a vote and implement Medicare for all so Americans should have health care in the midst of a pandemic. Because of that, he was canceled by leftist Twitter, a cancellation that was spearheaded by huge accounts, which today call themselves revolutionary Marxists, but who were yesterday's shitlibs defending AOC and the Democratic Party from just criticism. Okay, Hinkle literally used to be a Bernie bro. At the time, he had socially progressive views. He wasn't critical of the LGBT movement and said nothing to offend anyone on a cultural level at all. He was canceled for criticizing the established left and AOC on the grounds that they sold out on their own principles. I watched this debate with Vosh live, where he defended the Syrian government against libelous accusations that were used to defend regime change and intervention. Even back then, he defended the axis of resistance against Zionist lies. Keep in mind, they never defend any of this shit with their bodies, just running their mouths on the internet. Like, see that blue check right there next to his name? They all have these blue checks so that they can go on rants like this. At the time, I was running out of hope I could prevail over the forces of evil. This guy really thinks he's a fucking superhero. My message and my personal character as that had been so unjustly maligned, defamed, and misrepresented. I wondered if there was any justice in the world. I wondered if there was any justice in the world. This is the most self-absorbed individual life. Okay, I do not have a small ego, but this guy makes me look like fucking... This guy makes me look humble as fuck. I wondered if there was any justice in the world. It seemed I was a lone voice and that the empire of lie would prevail over truth. But I realized the meaning of Surah Al-Anfal, according to which, regardless of the plans of the empire, God is the best of planners. Jackson was proof that the truth can prevail as a mighty force. His meteoric rise seemed destined. I have never felt a truer vindication and confirmation of the cause of reviving authentic American communism, which has never existed, mind you, in my life. I cannot help, as someone who has been there to witness it all, knowing Jackson personally, but laugh when I see people accuse him of having some ulterior agenda. Had they been honest with themselves that AOC was a traitor and the Democrats were bankrupt, they would have seen it. Had they been honest with themselves that Zionists lied about Assad, they would have seen it. Had they been honest with themselves that the American left was long co-opted by the CIA, they would have seen it. Had they been honest with themselves that Ukraine was ruled by neo-Nazis, they would have seen it. And now, if they are honest about how Zionists are committing a genocide in Gaza while lying to the world, they will understand the key to his success. Jackson has surpassed 1 million followers, the majority of which, like people keep talking about this, okay? Jackson Hinkle has 1 million followers because he appeals to people who are not communists. Like, I guarantee you, a third of those people are bots. So they're not real people. Another third of those people are Trump Republicans. Okay? And the remaining third are assholes like this. Or people who do not know who Jackson Hinkle is. They just saw one of his posts and they liked it. As someone who has known him for many years and continues to work closely with him in fighting for the just cause of the American working class, I know that he has achieved the tremendous feat of over 1 million followers because of his integrity. No, he bought most of them, and he got the rest of them by being terminally online. I also cannot pretend to be surprised, so take me seriously when I tell you that this is only the beginning. A profound awakening is in store for this country. Wow. So, here's the man himself. He looks like a boy, but...
Coming on.
So, here he is with Tucker Carlson. It's obvious that he looks up to Uncle Tuck quite a bit. So, let's see what he has to say.
So there's something really... Look, I understand people are partisan on TV. There's a lot of pressure to take your side. But for Biden to get up there and say the single biggest threat to our country...
Why is there okay, this guy identifies as a communist. He calls himself a communist. Let's give him that. Let's let him play a communist, okay? Why the fuck is he on Fox News actually engaging in a friendly manner with Tucker Carlson?
Is anyone who opposes me in the coming midterm elections and the media to nod along makes you think we've crossed some kind of line?
We have crossed the line, Tucker, and it's so interesting that...
Oh, they're talking about the Dark Brandon speech.
Anyone in the media today would be saying that they liked what Joe Biden said in that speech because it was a dictator-inspired speech.
A dictator-inspired speech.
Not only that, but it seems like a lot of the practices and the actions that the Biden administration is employing in...
Keep in mind, he just said dictator-inspired speech. He has some amusing things to say about dictators.
United States right now that were reflected in that speech are very closely aligned with what the dictator Zelensky is doing in Ukraine. Joe Biden is plunging up.
So this guy glazes Putin, but he refers to Zelensky as a dictator.
Us into a fascist state. and he is taking cues
Keep in mind, I don't support either of them, okay? Fuck Zelensky and fuck Putin. You can quote me on that. Fuck Zelensky and fuck Putin.
from what Zelensky is doing in Ukraine to manufacture this dystopian state and this dystopian reality in America. And there's no real surprise for me there, because at the end of the day, Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and Joe Biden are controlled by the same exact people. They're controlled by individuals like George Soros and controlled by people like Klaus Schwab.
He's saying the same shit that people were saying about us in 2020 and in 2014. He's going to start talking about paid protesters very soon.
At the World Economic Forum, and they're going to do whatever they want. To put it quite simply, Zelensky is using the intelligence community in Ukraine and the Nazi Azov thugs in Ukraine to silence freedom-loving Ukrainians.
Keep in mind that Hinkle likes calling people Nazis. Let's see what he thinks about actual Nazis.
Joe Biden in the United States, though he can't remember what he had for breakfast this morning or who his wife is, his handlers and his cronies are prepping the CIA.
This guy's literally looking and talking like he's talking to a handler.
The FBI, Antifa, the IRS, and now
Antifa. So he labels anti-fascists as enemies. What is that they said about if you're an anti-fascist, what does that make you?
Ministry of Truth to attack freedom-loving Americans.
Maybe
he just made an Orwell reference.
Someone should have, in the opposition party, the one he's calling effectively illegal, should have paused before funding this insanity in Ukraine, which is tanking our economy and making a mockery of democracy, before signing off on it and just putting Ukrainian flag lapel pins on and nodding dutifully to Joe Biden. Why didn't anyone do that?
You'd think that they do that, but so many of these individuals in Washington, D.C., the neoconservatives, the rhinos, and the entire Democratic Party are beholden to the military and
Rhino means Republican in name only. So this guy is not a communist. He's a Republican. Otherwise, you would not be using the term rhino as a negative term. So you're a Republican. We are about to witness a major war. Now, that's another thing about this guy. Like, people are acting like he's this profound journalist, profound thinker. Like, all he does is take a screenshot of a regular-ass news headline and say, like, stuff that could be written by a 5-year-old.
Industrial complex. And that is extremely out of line with what average Americans need right now. We don't have clean drinking water in Jackson, Mississippi, yet we're sending $7 billion over.
Please don't act like you give a shit about what goes on in Jackson, Mississippi.
To Ukraine, a country that I'm sure most of these Congress people couldn't even point to on a map. It's insane. The White House this week, Tucker, I'm sure you saw, came out and said that anyone who doesn't hold an opinion reflected by the majority of the American public is extreme and therefore an extremist. Well, what does that make Joe Biden? Only 38% of Americans, if you believe the polls and what they tell us, if you believe
he's an election denialist.
They're that high. Only 38% of Americans agree with Joe Biden. So by the White House's own definition, that makes him an extremist.
Yeah. And so much for minority rights also. I mean, I thought you were...
Neither one of those men care about minorities. So people are talking about his supposed Palestine activism, if you will. I don't consider tweeting activism. Tweeting is fun and it's educational, but it's not like activism. It's not fundamentally making a change in the world. We've been calling for a ceasefire for weeks. Has there been a ceasefire? No. And he's fundamentally a coward. I get a free ticket to Israel so Mossad can murder me along with all the Palestinian children they're killing? No, thank you, Zionist war peace. Like, this guy types like a 3-year-old. Granted, the average American has the reading comprehension of a 3-year-old, so, yeah. So, yeah, he's been talking about Palestine ever since Palestine kicked off. But what happened not so long ago? This is Hinkle, and let's see what he has to say about Bibi Netanyahu.
You know who else has a good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu? Vladimir Putin has a...
Hinkle's buddy.
A very good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm actually happier that for the sake of, the multipolar world order, that he is in
Anytime you hear the term multipolar used in a positive fashion, run far, far away.
power right now.
This is him with Jordan Peterson.
Compared to the previous coalition in Israel. Xi Jinping of the
Another one of Hinkle's buddies.
Communist Party of China has a good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu, better than the previous coalition.
So you're dick riding Netanyahu, yet you're supposedly a friend of Palestine.
You looked at the video of...
And this is what he has to say about George Floyd. Keep in mind, part of the MAGA communist platform is banning Antifa street terrorism. In a discussion with noted fascist Tucker Carlson, he spoke of anti-fascists as controlled by George Soros in a negative fashion. Again, if you're an anti-fascist, what does that make you? Let's see what he has to say about Brother Floyd.
Let me just finish. So if you looked at the video of George Floyd, the cop, Derek Chauvin, sitting on his neck and whatnot, everyone sees that video, they think, oh my God, I support the police, but that was crazy. He just choked him out with his knee on his neck. Turns out George Floyd died from a fentanyl.
Keep in mind, what did he just say?
That was crazy. He just choked him out with his knee on his neck and whatnot. Everyone sees that video, they think, oh my God, I support the police, but that was crazy.
It kind of sounds like he's saying he supports the police.
He just choked him out with his knee on his neck. Turns out George Floyd died from a fentanyl overdose.
George Floyd died from a fentanyl overdose. Not from having his neck kneeled on for 9 fucking minutes. He died of a fentanyl overdose.
I'm going to cut you off right there. That's not true.
So, this is interesting. Jackson Hinkle, confirmed federal asset, was recruited by Lieutenant Gabbard after being cast as an anti-gun, anti-nuclear activist and handed an advisory position in a D.C. congressional think tank. He has since been reassigned to a prominent role in a post-Bernie psyop to disrupt the left. Jackson Hinkle gleefully attended the Park Avenue Young Republicans Gala to meet with fellow LaRoucheite Roger Stone. The New York Park Avenue Gala is where elite GOP figures called for a total war against the enemies of the Republicans and for war against China. Slavery apologetics.
It's like the TV.
Also, I do not trust any white dude who identifies as an independent reporter. That basically means you're a professional tweeter. Get a real job.
I remember when I was younger, it's like the TV shows and the cartoons talked about, the golden rule, treating others the way you want to be treated, good life principles, stuff like that, lessons from the Bible. And now we have all white people are bad and they owe me money based upon something I have no knowledge about. And I must have missed in that song. I didn't hear them talking about how, when we brought the slaves over here, there was active slave trades in Africa that we actually purchased.
Oh my God.
Them from, but maybe
the slave trade in Africa was literally... The slave trade in Africa only got to the level that it did because there was a European demand. Y'all camped out in forts on the West African coast and handed out guns to coastal tribes to go into the interior and capture slaves who were then brought back to these slave castles. You all could not go into the interior of the places like the Congo or Ghana or what is now Nigeria because y'all would have got malaria and died.
That's the next episode.
But again, this is a friend of Palestine, and this is a friend of black people. Ready to take out the Chinese balloon. Nice gun. Another speaker at this thing was Maximilian Krach, who is a German lawyer and politician who is serving as an Alternative for Deutschland member of the European Parliament. This guy has all sorts of shitty friends. And he started out as a basic, he's from California, basic Cali environmentalist hippie shit. Um, he's holding a sustainable stainless water bottle. His club was handing this out to people as an alternative to plastic bottles, and they also sell it on Etsy. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Is he still an environmentalist? Now he's saying that environmentalism is anti-human. Nature has more value to me than a billion human bodies. Human fecundity is not as important as a wild and healthy planet. Blah, 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 blah. Some idiot. Net zero and the elimination of fossil fuels will cause many humans to die. He's calling for the deportation of Nina Turner, a black woman whose ancestors have been here since before 1808. Nina, if you try to take my gas stove, I will run for president, win, and proceed to deport you. He's basically telling her to go back to Africa. Putin and Trump will save us from World War II. The French riots have spread to Belgium's capital city of Brussels. Keep in mind that part of the MAGA communist platform is the illegalization of Antifa street criminals. The French riots have spread to Belgium's capital city of Brussels. 64 individuals have already been arrested. Europe is falling. If this happened to a black man in America, all these Ukraine supporters would take to the streets in its defense and loot/riot for months. I think it is better to be a dictator than to be gay. America is interested in the transgender homosexual agenda in Africa, whereas Russia and China are interested in providing Africa with military training and skill sharing. Actually, it's because of America that there is a very strong anti-trans movement in Africa, an anti-queer movement in Africa. He could have a little white supremacist conspiracy as a treat. But yeah, again, this guy cares about Palestine so much. So, oh yeah, this is the killer. Straight white men face an infinitely larger struggle in today's society than transgenders and people of color. I'm going to put it through the old test. Let's see what he says. Let's use some buzzwords. Okay, Jackson Hinkle. Give me things to search. I'll start. BLM. I want to search it under his thing. It's different on your phone. I took it off. All lowercase. I hate this fucking keyboard. BLM committed acts of terrorism and were given support and untold sums of donations by the ruling DNC elite. The Uhuru movement, another cult, said that Donbass is Russia and have now been raided by the FBI and indicted by the DNC-led DOJ in a malign foreign influence campaign. Let's see what else. Gay. Let's see what he has to say about my brothers of the sword. It's a bunch of people roasting him. His fans really, really, really do not like gay people. Yes, brothers of the sword. That's what I call queer people. I really, really hate this fucking thing. Trump has announced that if reelected, he will follow in the steps of Vladimir Putin and ban transgender surgeries and gender affirming care in quotation marks for minors. I mean, I think you all get the point. This guy is not your fucking friend. It doesn't matter that he has however many fucking views he has, okay? Like, this guy is. Yeah, there's something wrong with him. Like, I don't call people feds, I don't call people fascists lightly, but there's something fucking wrong with this guy. And he tweets a ton. Now he's begging Elon Musk to turn on Starlink for Gaza. Elon Musk is not going to do that, but he just wants to be able to talk to the richest guy in the world. Maybe ask him for money. This is the extent of his activism. He's wearing a keffiyeh like a regular scarf. This is the extent of his activism. He's not at a march. He's standing. He found this sign somewhere, and he's standing out. He's standing out on the block with this expensive ass car behind him, holding it up, and that's a sign that he's down for the Palestinian people. Whoop de fucking do. And like I said, like I'm just iffy about this white dude just posting, endless posting of people's suffering, and then it always comes back to him. Zionists are trying to cancel me. I mean, that's what Zionists do. Zionists almost got me kicked out of my university. Like, I don't talk about it every fucking hour of every fucking day. That's part of being an activist, which you are not. Canceled. Like, he has himself here, and then he's got an army of knights behind him. Yeah. Attention and money-seeking behavior, like all settlers. Like, white people are basically just like world's biggest fucking con artists. So all this guy does is retweet other people's stuff. That's all he does. Like, he offers no analysis of his own. And when he tries to, it ends up looking like something that a fifth grader could write. President Trump ordered the withdrawal of U.S. Oh my God, this is an AI generated image. Ordered the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria who were only there to steal oil. But deep state officials secretly denied his order and kept our troops there. So anything to kiss Trump's ass. Here he is again. Now he's Morpheus. Morpheus, I don't know. I've seen this image before, but he just photoshopped himself into it. Like, same shit over and over and over again. Like, what exactly is the utility of this guy besides promoting campus bullshit and trying to make money for himself off other people's suffering? What the fuck? Does this guy fancy himself some type of twink Red Army general or something? Like, it's obvious that most of these Palestinians that are oh yeah, he's also big friends with Andrew Tate, who this guy is supposedly extremely concerned about grooming and bad things happening to children, yet he Yet here he is wanting to hang out with Andrew Tate, who is about to be a convicted sex trafficker and rapist. Where do you support Palestine from? As the most viral X account, bro, it's obvious that you bought your followers. It's obvious that you bought your followers. Like, these people don't know who you fucking are. As the most viral X account, many Zionists are trying to cancel me. They've claimed I am an Iranian agent, a Russian agent, a Hamas agent, a CIA agent, a Chinese agent. But the truth is, I am a 24-year-old American communist who loves God, my family, and my country. Israel equals ISIS. Here's another one. Banned by YouTube and Twitch. Most viral account on X. So he's just above why you should have a cat. So he's endlessly talking about himself. He's asking for $3 so he can, I don't know, smoke more cigars. I've never seen a 24-year-old guy smoking a cigar, by the way. I know. I've got the shit on my page. He's a paid Fed agent whose job it is to confuse and stupefy people. Trying to exploit him to boost yourself just brings you and the people you contact closer under Fed scrutiny. I'm not trying to boost myself. I boost myself because I'm smart. I'm just tired of people like sharing this dude. Like not just morons. I don't care what they think. Like people who should know better. This is one of his buddies. A white conservative dude in rural America has more in common with the Islamic resistance than a leftist Muslim embedded in liberal institutions echoing open society's ideas of human rights. Cope with this fact. No, it was white conservative dudes. It was white conservative dudes in rural America who were going around attacking Sikhs after 9/11, thinking that they were Muslims because turban obviously equals Muslim. This guy is good for a laugh. Husband, father, communist, trust the plan, infrared. What is Marxism-Leninism in the age of multipolarity and the post-COVID world? Join our Telegram. I think not. We are patriots.
Recently, there's been a lot of controversy over the question of American patriotism. Many on the left have cast stones in Jackson Hinkle's direction, claiming that one cannot be both a patriot and a
You cannot.
socialist in America, given its origin as a settler colonialist venture and its current status as the leading imperialist power. Many have gone so far to claim that, as socialists, patriotism represents an affront to the principle of internationalism, and that socialists who speak in patriotic terms are both inconsistent and on the road to red brownism.
Keep in mind that they just showed a bunch of, well, I'd call them revisionists, but let's just for the sake of this discussion say that they're communists from third world countries, peripheral countries. That's different than being a patriot for an imperialist country. That's how you can tell that these people haven't read.
In spite of these protestations by the American left, it is clear that there is something deeply wrong with this position. The reality of the American people is not, in fact,
They're showing a Trump protest.
going anywhere.
Keep in mind, these people love Trump protests. They love Trump rallies, but they hate anti-fascist rallies. Why?
and the anarchistic burn it all down approach has done nothing but isolate
The anarchists that I know do not want to burn it all down.
the left since the 1960s. This begs the question, what was the actual relationship between socialists and patriotism historically?
What becomes immediately clear is that the track record of the 19th and especially 20th centuries show that socialists and communists have consistently been patriotic and deeply attuned to the national realities.
Patriotic when they are colonized, not when they are the colonizers.
Of the countries they hail from. The only reason why the question of patriotism has now come to the fore is because up until recently it has been a given. And in point of fact, it is still a given in the vast majority of
Again, more third world countries that have been fucked over by the United States.
countries today. It is only in America and those under the influence of its empire, where those under the sway of American exceptionalism remain dominant on the left, that socialists imagine they can elevate themselves above national realities and speak on behalf of an
America isn't even a nation. America is a prison house of nations, like the old Russian Empire was. Lenin would have a field day with this idiot.
abstract working class, uprooted and estranged from its particular and national instantiation. But historically speaking, it is a plain and obvious fact that communists were always patriotic and deeply rooted in the national traditions of their respective countries.
What national traditions does America have? Lynchings?
Who spoke of the unity of working people from all countries, states in the same work that, though not in substance, yet in form, the struggle of the proletariat with the bourgeoisie is at first a national struggle. And 27 years later, in his critique of the Gaza program, Marx calls it a self-evident fact that, in order to be able to fight at all, the working class must organize itself at home as a class, with its own country as the immediate arena of its struggle. Although the substantial meaning is class struggle, Marx is abundantly clear that its initial form is national. Lenin, who advocated for revolutionary defeatism during the First World War, never considered this position to be at odds with patriotism on behalf of the Russian people.
Lenin actually hated Russians.
We love our language and our country, and we're doing our very utmost to raise our toiling masses to the level of democratic and socialist consciousness. In fact,
Lenin thought that Russia was hopelessly backwards, and he was actually surprised when shit popped off there. He actually thought that a revolution was more likely to happen in Germany or France.
the imperial
Like, you want America to exist after some type of revolution takes place here.
imperialist war was cast as an unpatriotic commitment to the international financiers, capitalists, and enemies of the people who dominated the nation. We are full of a sense of national pride, but also must be, the content of patriotism.
Whereas Marx's materialism proceeds from earth to heaven, a negative position with regards to the peoples, nations, and history of the world. For these Western leftists, the essence of socialism exists in spite of the concrete sociality, or the living being.
Okay, now they're using fucking psychobabble language that they don't even understand.
Development of various local and quasi-national traditions with deep roots, from Appalachian Americans to the Black Belt. They have long since become indigenized, and is in fact their uproot.
What? Hold up, I gotta get this context.
The simple fact of the matter is that the United States is almost 2.5 centuries old. Those who presently inhabit the United States as the white majority are not settlers or colonists.
Yes, they are.
The birth of the United States.
They confuse calling for a national struggle for nationalism and patriotism shows that they don't have reading comprehension skills. Okay, I gotta go back here because I gotta make sure, like I said, I'm not a liar. So I gotta make sure before I laugh myself into oblivion. Like, I gotta make sure that I'm getting this right.
And, like all nations, it contains within itself the conditions for redemption. The simple.
How can you redeem America? Oh, okay. Let's go back to spring. Let's go back to Tinkle for a little bit, okay? Okay. You got an American flag there. And he's very critical of the United States. Well, no, he's not. He's not critical of the United States as a concept. He's critical of the people who run the United States. But he maintains a critique, okay? So he thinks that the United States is bad and is doing bad things. But he thinks that it can be I guess, rectified in some type of way. I personally don't. The Black Panthers didn't. Okay? The advanced strata of the communist movement in the United States did not think that there was anything redemptory about the continued existence of this country. These people are behind the fucking Weathermen. As a matter of fact, I would even dare to say that they're behind the Earl Browder era of the CPUSA.
The fact of the matter is that the United States is almost 2.5.
Oh yeah, by the way, if you're in the CPUSA, you need to make it your business to purge these people, because their goal is to take over your party by 2050, if I recall correctly. So, yeah, that's why you should watch Twitter, because their goal is to, like, if you look at infra accounts, like some of them have CPUSA in their bios. So yeah, you might want to get these people out.
Half centuries old. Those who presently inhabit the United States as the white majority are not settlers or colonists. The birth of the United States has seen the development of various local and quasi-national translation of white America. The condemnation of America as a settler colony thinly disguises the hatred and repulsion of American leftists towards their own people.
See? These people are fascists. They're fascists. Like this speech, this discussion could be given by fucking Donald Trump. Let's see what other hilarities they have for us. So they don't have many writings, it seems. They've got a lot of YouTube videos. Very active on YouTube. But no writings. So here's HLE. I am not jealous of Jackson. Literally cosplays Jackson. Bro, that's a Fred Perry. Okay, I've always dressed like this. Like, really. These people are delusional. I don't care about America first. I care about America only. But you are a very strong supporter of... Yeah, see, like, I look cool. He looks like somebody that puts Rohypnol into people's drinks. That was funny, though. I'll give him that. Bruh. All right, that's a good one. I guess I got my Halloween costume, or Jackson has his Halloween costume. It's fucking funny. Oh, wow. This does not look anti-Semitic at all. They are the real viruses, so comparing Jewish people to disease now. You are 99% Swede, 1% Palestinian, and 1% is me being generous. So these people are race scientists now. Your feed is full of Angloid propaganda about the Islamic resistance, and that is enough to understand the corruption of your mind. Why do these people talk like plague doctors? Trotskyist in real life organizing versus Marxist-Leninist cyber warfare. So yeah, these people don't do anything off the internet. Like, they see themselves as like, they're cyber warriors. And I mean, yeah, the internet is important because there are millions of people on it. But at the same time, like, you got to touch grass every now and then. And you also cannot be a literal fascist. Like, you cannot say these types of things. Straight white men face an infinitely larger struggle in society. Then I go back to that YouTube video and you're talking about how white people are not settlers. Like that belies a basic misunderstanding. Not even a misunderstanding. A flat out failure to study anything that that challenges your skewed worldview. He wants to free Andrew Tate. I stand by everything I've said about being canceled for the disgustingly misogynistic things he said recently. Oh, what has he said?
Dumb fucking things you've said, and people clip it together because you are a dumbass. You know, some of the clips that were I stand by everything I said. I stand by everything I said. I stand by everything I said. I stand by everything I said.
I do everything for the clout.
Nice.
When I bring chicks to my place, I only have 2 toothbrushes, one for the clout.
Nice.
When I
said. I stand by everything I said. I stand by everything I said.
I do everything for the clout.
I could stop this stream just here.
Nice. When I bring chicks,
I said.
I do everything for the clout.
Nice. Like, I could stop this right here.
I bring...
He's flat out telling you who he is. And these fucking morons keep sharing his shit. I do everything for the clout. Like, that's literally what he's telling you.
Stand by everything I said.
I do everything for the clout.
Nice.
When I bring chicks to my place, I only have 2 toothbrushes. One is for me, and one I use for every other chick that I bring over to my house, and I tell them that it's a new toothbrush and it's only for them. If I like you enough, maybe you don't have to sleep on the street in front of my apartment. I learned all the matching signs for sexual compatibility. So she said some shit as to like what zodiac sign she was. I'm like, I'm a Gemini. Oh my God, we're so sexually compatible.
So he's talking about how he manipulates women so he can sleep with them, a.k.a. how he sexually assaults women.
I'm a Virgo. I personally don't want strong-minded, like, shorties up in my shit because I want to be the one manipulating them and exploiting them. Cats have 9 lives, so if a pussy's got more than 10 bodies, she's dead to me.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a dickhead. I'd hope you'd say I'm not a dickhead.
Wow. Now, think about if this was a black person, okay? A decently known black political commentator saying this. Would he be allowed to work in any solidarity movement anywhere? You already know the answer to that question. Absolutely not.
So this is what's happening right now. So it's all a part of a large effort to bring Trump down. And now they have nothing, so they're resorting to obstruction of justice. It's just absolutely crazy what we're witnessing right now. Can't say I'm all that surprised by this, but like, and the last thing I'll say about this is, really? So we're going to prevent the president of the United States from running for office potentially. And I have to be careful with how I phrase this stuff. From running a campaign free of criminal investigation, I guess we'll say is the most YouTube-friendly way of putting it. Because of a few allegedly misidentified documents. He's the president of the United States. You really think he's going through all these documents? You think he knows what's going on? He's got a team of attorneys that deal with this stuff. Thousands, tens of thousands of documents.
Yeah. Half of which are about to follow him to jail. So yeah, that whole like if this guy was black, he would not be allowed anywhere near anything. So the only reason that Hinkle blew up, so to speak, is because 1, he's white. 2, he's fairly decently connected. I think his dad works for the Lincoln Project, and 3, he buys his followers. Like a lot of people do that, but like people that are acting like there's some mitigating factor, like there's no mitigating factor with this guy. He offers nothing. He brings nothing new to the table. He says shit like this. Like, how is this beneficial to anybody? Being affiliated with somebody like this will fuck your movement up. That's why I laugh at people like this who say, this is Q. He's a decent guy, but he's just dumb on this point. The online left's ability to take a W needs to be studied by scientists. Who cares what Hinkle's intentions are? Like, I fucking do. He thinks that Black Lives Matter is controlled by George Soros. Not Black Lives Matter, the shitty liberal organization. Black Lives Matter, the movement. You are a black man, okay? I understand you're a Muslim, but you're also a black man. This guy thinks that George Floyd died from a fentanyl overdose. A long disproven lie. And you're running interference with them. Like, Q, bruh, you've been on my ass about this for the past 2 days. Like, you could just simply be silent. Don't say anything. Like I said in the replies. Let me find it. Oops. I don't want to make another reply. I don't want to wake Q up. Link it up with a dude who opposes indigenous sovereignty, supports border control / deportation of Latino people is not a W. This line of reasoning led Elijah Muhammad to invite Nazis to an event, and Garvey to link up with the Klan. We have to be principled and reject opportunism. We have to reject opportunism. Just because a white dude that bought 1.8 million likes for himself is being very loud about something that can make him money because quite a few people have their eyes on Palestine right now, that doesn't mean that you have to support him or defend him. We are not obliged to do any of that. We're not. And thinking that you are, that's a sign of white supremacy rotting your skull. Andrew Tate was not banned from the internet because he's a misogynist. If that was the case, most of the global population would be banned from social media. He was banned because he exposes inconvenient truths like this.
It's gone. Excuse me, sir, put the mask over your nose. This fucking air stewardess, this minimum wage bitch. So I put my mask.
Oh dear. This is the guy that he wants freed. Like, this guy identifies as a communist. He claims that he loves his partner. He's married to a Russian woman. Whether or not she came in a mail order box is not for me to speculate, but yeah, a lot of these types, they marry Eastern European women because they're supposedly more traditional. Here's the OG post. Straight white men face an infinitely larger struggle in today's society than transgenders and people of color. Let's see who is his buddies. You are a craven little roach begging for whatever attention you can get because Bernie broism is no longer a fruitful political project. The fact that you exist is sickening. Just a heads up to all my mutuals. This guy's a grifter and not a chill dude. Your ancestors handed you a 400-year head start and you fumbled it, then came to Twitter to let the world know. Tighten the fuck up. So he's getting roasted. This was a few months ago, but people are acting like this was 5 years ago. No, like he still believes this shit. 99% of our country's problems would be solved if men stopped being fat and women stopped being that word. It's illegal to be gay in 67 countries. And here's the OG of 21st century fascism, Alexander Dugin, whose daughter was killed in a bombing, rest in piss, saying, thank God it still is in 67 countries. All the rest are going to repeat the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah's. You will be destroyed. By you will be destroyed, he is referring to queer people and their supporters. And Jackson Hinkle responds with an emoji of hands praying. How Russians deal with gay pride protesters. No, Sodom and Gomorrah was actually about covetousness and uncharitability and greed. He's applauding mob violence in Russia, his favorite country. He married a person from there. He's applauding mob violence in Russia against queer people. Who are the top 5 most canceled people alive? Top names that come to mind are Julian Assange, Lyndon LaRouche, Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, a literal Nazi, and Kanye West, in that order. Yes, they're against Antifa violence, but they're supportive of anti-queer violence. Whoop-de-fucking-do. $2036 on my mind. Why do all of these people look like this? Like they're all trying to look like Haas, I guess. They're all trying to grow those fucking ugly ass beards out. Except for Hinkle, who is content to remain a twink. Oh, he's on Tim Pool's show.
An oversimplification.
Well,
or
you said
idealistic.
simply, that's what it is. I think that any communist state that takes form in America is going to have communist values, or American values, rather. It's going to be based on the history
Communist values and American values. You can have one or the other. You cannot have
of
both.
our country, the Constitution.
No, it's not. The Constitution is going to be thrown in the fucking garbage.
I think it
Actually, half of you motherfuckers are probably going to want to roll weed up with it. So
would be a Christian communist state, and I think that we can learn a lot from China and from the Soviet Union. But you look at China today. Their economy is outpacing ours. It's gonna beat ours totally, probably within the next 5 to 10 years. You know, Europe is going down, the U.S. is going down. China lifted 845 million people out of poverty in the last 40 years. I think that we shouldn't be China, but I think we can learn things from China and the Soviet Union and other countries that have done it successfully.
Successfully?
Do you think the economy is outpacing ours? It's gonna beat ours.
So this guy has no understanding of what communism is. Like, this guy is mixing revisionism with his fascism.
Totally, probably within the next 5 to 10 years. You know, Europe is going down, the U.S. is going down. China lifted 800.
Keep in mind, he posted a picture of that riot in Brussels and the riots in France about the murder of a black person, an Algerian person that was most likely Muslim. And his response was saying that Europe is falling. And he also wants closed borders in the United States. But now this guy is supposedly a friend to Palestinian Muslims.
145 million people out of poverty in the last 40 years. I think that we shouldn't be China, but I think we can learn things from China and the Soviet Union and other
Things. Send me $3.
countries that have done it successfully.
Successfully?
Do you think
Soviet
China
Union didn't do it successfully? Fell apart.
Yeah, they fell apart in 69 years.
But what did they do successfully? They took their country from its knees, from dirt, from a feudal society, basically, to the.
You want to return to a feudal society. You literally just went off on the people that you're supposed to be supporting because you love America so much. And you said that Americans are either fat or they are sluts.
Economic powerhouse that defeated Nazi Germany, the bloodiest, largest battle in all of human history.
Yeah, but we're already an economic powerhouse. So how would
Are we,
communism benefit
or
us?
are we an economic powerhouse, or are we this Byzantine labyrinth of insurance companies, law firms that utilizes
good point.
Wall Street power, utilizing the dollar as a tool of financial pressure on the rest of the world? Without the dollar, America is not nothing, but it's nowhere near as strong as it is today. And when you see BRICS rising up, you see Russia, China, India, South Africa, Brazil, you see Saudi Arabia.
None of those countries are communist.
The UAE, you see Iran, Egypt, 7 of the top 10 largest oil producing in the nations today, working to create a new global
7 of the top 10 oil producing in the nations today.
reserve currency that's going to challenge the dollar. I mean, it's not the end of America, but it's not going to be
If I recall correctly, that shit fell apart.
pretty for us in the future.
You think that centrally planning an economy is a more effective strategy?
Uh,
than the
I
private
think
sector take it?
I think that every economy's planned. This economy in the U.S. is planned to enrich Wall Street, rich legacy families in our country. It's built to enrich, the largest monopoly capital powers that reside within the U.S. I think China is a country that plans the economy to lift people out of poverty in regions like Xinjiang, and also
China plans the economy to lift Xi Jinping and his buddies out of poverty. What are you talking about?
focuses on giving people tax relief, helping them create new businesses, making sure that they have enough money to afford homes.
So basically, China is the United States, except when you get in trouble over there, they shoot you in the back of the head.
and healthcare and
Well, they shoot you in the back of the head here, but over there they do it legally.
stuff like that. I think America is a country that prioritizes every single interest of the ruling class over the interest of the working man. That's why we have 60,000 homeless.
He looks like he has like a little bug in his ear under those headphones telling him talking points. Like he has a direct line to Lyndon LaRouche in hell.
Veterans, 600,000 homeless individuals.
I'm waiting for him to talk about the Eurasian land bridge.
We have a higher ratio of homeless in our country compared to any industrialized developed nation on the face of the earth.
What about property rights? Would you suggest doing away with them?
I think we should just give property to the people. Trump's talking about this new plan for America cities. He's talking about 10 new cities across the United States. We'd have, top elite architecture specialists throughout the country that submit plans to build new cities where young Americans with families are basically going to get the opportunity to buy land, buy homes for pennies on the dollar for super cheap. And I think we should do that right now. I mean, why is it that every American is governed by debt? Every American is in debt when it comes to their home loans. Every American's in debt when it comes to student.
Since he brought up homeless people, this is his great teacher Haas and his opinion on the homeless. Point 1. Breaking. I am officially announcing my plan to go to Hollywood and organize the homeless crackheads into a union against the ludicrous salaries and privileges of the writers. The homeless crackheads need their own union. Without these writers, we would not have Black Viking. Shit, without the homeless, we will not have any more shit on the sidewalk. Shit on the sidewalk is worth far more than these TV shows. I can prove that mathematically and with science. He then goes on to refer to them as parasite lumpen. I gladly cast my lot with the spirit of the American hobo and count myself amongst the raving schizos who know nothing. Over these pretentious pieces of shit who disguise their slavish respect for institutions with self-depreciating memes. It's just so much shit to wade through. This is what you all are referring to. The homeless in America are like what landlords were in Mao's time, occupying what should be public land and intimidating people to give them rent while they do nothing. The homeless are the ruling class of American public life. Everyone fears them and bows before them. Haas says, facts. Pedestrians are treated with the same cruelty that serfs wore. At any moment, they can get a bucket of diarrhea thrown on them if they do not dare pay rent to the sidewalk lords. Communism is not about the homeless. Communism is not about feeling bad for the homeless. Communism isn't even about helping the homeless. The aimless professional middle class millennials who make up communism today think communism is charity to the lowest dregs of society. It's not. Wow. You look like a homeless mall Santa. Man, these people are fucking, like, people keep saying that nobody off the internet knows who these people are, but like it's just so fucking funny to look at this shit. You gotta laugh every now and then.
Meet Jackson Hinkle.
Hey Jackson, I came all the way up to Richmond to tell you you're a dork.
Oh yeah?
Very mature. So they like people keep casting this guy like he's some like he calls himself an independent journalist. He hates anime. Like this dude is basically a frat boy who played as Rezhnov in Call of Duty and now fancies himself a communist. Like, that's all Hinkle is. Like, we don't have to make allowances for people who say objectively fucked up stuff, like what I just showed. Like, I spent the past hour going through objectively fucked up shit. Like, we do not have to make allowances to this guy. We do not have to say that he does anything good, because he doesn't. He offers us nothing. America would be better off if you were both deported, said to 2 indigenous people. Hinkle's family came over on the Mayflower, if I recall correctly. No, I do recall correctly. He said so. He's proud of his family that came over on the Mayflower. And the people that came over on the Mayflower proceeded to engage in massacres, most foul, against the indigenous people of the Massachusetts Bay region. So he cares so much for the ongoing Israeli slaughter of indigenous people in Palestine. He doesn't give a shit about what his ancestors did to indigenous people. He doesn't recognize even that this country is founded on stolen land. But he's so concerned about Israel stealing land from the Palestinian people. Why? Because he's an anti-Semite. He doesn't hate Israel because Israel is a settler colonial country. Jackson Hinkle and his ilk hate Israel because they are anti-Semites. They uphold America, which is a literal settler colony. Israel is America Junior. Okay? Israel is America Junior. Israel does the exact same shit to Palestinians that America did to indigenous people for years. So on one hand, you support America, the #1 terrorist state in the world, and then you turn right around and feign, because that's essentially all this shit is. Jackson Hinkle doesn't give a shit about Palestinians. Jackson Hinkle gives a shit about being paid. And to people like Q, Noble Q, who say that, well, he's getting the word out. Like, well, what word? Like, he's going to take his 1.8 or whatever million followers, and after Palestine has faded from the news cycle, after people go back to not giving a fuck, Hinkle included, he is going to start spreading fascism to most of those bots and shit are probably going to end up unfollowing him anyways. But like, he's going to start spreading fascism to whoever will hear it. Because like he said, he's all about the clout, and he's all about the fascism, and he's all about the dollar bill. Like all white people. Ambulances weren't able to get people to hospitals all night because there were no phone communications. Yeah. That's what's going on. And that one with the 14 words, that's a fake. That's not real. I don't share fake things. There's enough to roast them for. Anyways, don't follow Hinkle. If you need to get your online fix, you can follow me. I wouldn't be mad if you followed me. But there are like hundreds of people that are not actual fascists, that are not actual wannabe rapists, that do not support Andrew Tate. Like, there are hundreds of actual good accounts. Hell, follow Hassan. There are so many other people that you could follow other than this fucking weird looking motherfucker, all right?